Hello and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. This is episode 12, and now my co-host Euan has disappeared off to South America for a bit.
Euan isn't here.
Hey, wait, your turn. Right.
Sorry.
So yeah, as you might have heard, put that down. Right, as you might have heard there.
I'll behave.
Stop that. As you might have heard there, we've got somebody else in the room here, so...
It's a very special episode, I feel. I already have a spot for it in my heart.
This is going to be your favourite episode now.
I think so.
It's not started yet, man, so don't...
Hi, Mum! Hi, Mum! Mummy, hello! Sorry, that may have been a bit too loud, but it's fine, because Chris is going to spend the next half an hour editing it.
Oh, God. I knew I was going to regret this. Right. Okay, so... my new guest host, special celebrity guest host, here he is. Tell us, what's your name and where'd you come from?
Hi, my name's Pawel, and I don't come from Scotland. I'm Chris's fourth or fifth choice for a podcast second in command person, and I'm mostly here to sabotage his efforts to record episode number 12.
Oh,
I'm also here to make sure that we talk about RPGs rather than other stuff.
so where is it you come from?
That would be Poland.
Poland, alright.
You may have heard of Poland.
I've heard that you're now fifth in line to the throne in Poland.
Yes, but there is a polar bear in front of me.
Alright.
That's the sort of board games Poles play.
Are polar bears native to Poland?
Absolutely. At this time of the year, but it's like every second street.
Polar bear street.
Totally.
What would that be in Polish?
We can do separate podcast for learning Polish. It's a beautiful language as long as you don't want to blow your brains out, and we would just need way more time.
Are we going to do a Chris Learns Polish podcast?
We've already done that. We've played a board game recently that's actually originally been released in Poland by Poles, and it's got an actual Polish title. And Chris, I'm sure, still remembers how to pronounce that title.
I do, but we'll wait until we actually talk about that.
Fabulous.
Because,
I'm like totally looking forward to it.
well, first up, we're going to talk about some video games.
Yay!
Video games, Pawel.
I'm so excited.
Oh, God. Right. Let's get into this then.
Totally.
So, I think I'll start, and then you can learn from the master, okay?
I will do your bidding.
Right. So I've been playing, as if you've been keeping up with the Facebook page, I've been playing Just Cause 3, which is a fun game, an interesting game, one for the intellects, I think, amongst you. It's an open world game, which is pretty much what I would describe as everything I wanted Grand Theft Auto to be. It's been developed by Avalanche Studios, published by Square Enix, and it came out... when did it come out? I think the end of 2015?
Yeah, quite recent.
Yeah, December. The start of December 2015. I'm just looking at the notes here. Now, you're playing this game. It's, like I say, it's an open world, third-person game, and you're on a fictional sort of Banana Republic type place called Medici.
I'm also going to interject here, and I'll say that whilst you're listening to this, you could just have a quick look at the Facebook page. There is a visual aid there.
A couple of visual aids. I think I've done 2 videos on it.
Okay, cool. Of course, yeah, there was another one.
The second one's my favourite. which involved a bit of flag raising and some of the hilarity that I introduced to that. But, yeah, as I was saying, it's set on this fictional island called Medici, which has this evil dictator. And you know he's evil because he wears a military uniform and he's fat and smokes cigars and stuff. You know, that kind of guy.
I know them well. The rich dictators. In Poland, we only have the poor dictators.
Well, you're basically come in as this guy, Rico Rodriguez, and you join up with this bunch of rebels who are fighting to take the island back.
So you're Rico.
You play as Rico. And Rico is an interesting character, I suppose.
He does look the part.
He seems pretty much superhuman.
I know it's all equipment, man. It's more like Batman. Batman doesn't have superpowers. He's just got gadgets, and this dude's got flight suit and all sorts of other grappling hooks.
Exactly. Now, Rico doesn't need he doesn't hide behind a mask. Rico just openly goes out and opens fire on people. It's incredible. What a man. What a man.
He's got this amazing characteristic. He opens up the worst in players.
The best, I would say.
It's the same thing. It's like synonyms.
You watched that video. In fact, you were here when I recorded that video.
I've seen your
in tears of
amazing
laughter.
act of patriotism. your own rendition of what it means to actually liberate someone. Let's do a swing with a liberated person's body all around the flag, just to make a point.
I did make a point. I don't know what point I made, but I made a point.
It was all about democracy.
Right, so in this game, you quite quickly in this game are given a grappling hook. You're also given a wingsuit, as you said. You've got a parachute and all these kind of things. So you can basically just kind of fly about the place, and there's cars and stuff that you can nick, and
there's explosives.
I'm getting to that part. Okay. So there's lots of guns, and there's rocket launchers and grenade launchers and sniper rifles and all that kind of thing. But there's also explosives that you can attach to things, and you get various upgrades through doing some of the challenges in this game. Now, the challenges are probably the most fun part of this game if you're playing it seriously, because, well, really the most fun part is just causing as much destruction as you possibly can, but
which is the actual feature that this game stands out because of. I mean, most games will have rocket launchers and shotguns and stuff, and you just use them to kill whatever mobs. Whereas in this game, you do have your firearms, but you end up doing all sorts of absolutely crazy things for no reason whatsoever, apart from maybe an odd point added to your score here and there.
Yeah, that's it.
It reminds me a little bit of that game. I shall remember its name.
The game.
The Saints Row.
Saints Row, yeah.
Yes. I've played a tiny little bit of it, and it was all about mayhem, really.
Yeah.
Just
I've not actually played them, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Similar, a little bit less freedom, but way more, I would say, customization when it comes to character, whatever cars you're driving, things like this.
As I was saying, there are upgrades that you get through doing challenges in this game. The challenges are just things like, racing cars and using your wingsuit to fly through hoops and stuff like that.
Some of them are just an amazing and satisfying part of the game.
Yeah, it is. The wingsuit's great fun.
Yeah.
And there's challenges like blow up as much stuff as you possibly can in a minute and a half.
Which is exactly why I remembered Saints Row, because it's all about just put yourself in a tank and how much damage exactly can you do in, say, 60 seconds, things like this, challenges like this.
Well, so some of the upgrades I've got. So that thing that you saw me doing with the explosives that you can plant, which ended up having rocket boosters on them, which caused that poor innocent civilian to fly round and round the flagpole for a while before exploding.
They deserved their democracy.
So these are some of the cool upgrades that you can get. I say cool, I mean ridiculous and unnecessary, but that's what we like on this podcast.
I think so too, yes. I've listened to it pretty much breathlessly since day one, and I think ridiculous is the right adjective here.
That's right. Now, like I say, there is a story going through this game. Does anybody care about the story?
Nah.
I don't think so.
No. I care for a story in pretty much every game I play. But let's face it, Chris, you don't really play games like this. Those particular games you fool around in.
Exactly.
You don't play them.
They're created for you to just be as stupid as you want to be, basically, and in such a creative manner as well. It really does. It unlocks my creativity.
I've seen it, and I can confirm.
But I mean, a lot of the story in it is like there's different regions in the island and things, and you can take them over by destroying military bases and taking over towns and stuff, taking the towns off the dictator. Are you wanting to say something? You're sitting there with your mouth open again.
I feel the need, the urge to interject, because there is a backstory to it. See, Chris is one of those creative gamers that would play games that otherwise do not allow for any such things, and he will still find a way. You'll find him playing, Deus Ex, which is like a proper serious game. There is a story. It's fairly grim. There isn't a lot of laughing in it, and then you'll see Chris spending 30 minutes because he's just committed to it, dragging some poor lad's body on top of a roof somewhere in the midtown of whatever Detroit or whatever other city this game took place in, just to throw the body off the roof and watch all the civilians scatter. This was not part of the story in the game.
What's the problem with this? I mean, like, Pawel, right? You love a really serious narrative. Like, you really do. You as a proper hardcore RPGer,
yes,
right, you love a bit of serious narrative.
I very much do, yes.
If I was to join your RPG group, how quickly would I be thrown out?
You would probably not finish even describing your character to me.
All right.
I dare you to someday try, but it's probably not going to happen. So no, my point was that I think amongst all those liberations that you're providing to those really poor people, you've been liberated by this game because
yes. I feel that, I think you're right. I think the real liberation going on here is within myself.
Fabulous! You're getting your money's worth.
Yeah. I've put a lot of hours into this game now, and I've not really done very much with the story. I mean, I do play bits of the story just for the sole reason that I might be able to unlock something.
And this is the real
going to let me do more destruction.
The real meaning, I suppose, of the genre or subgenre or whatsoever factor called sandbox. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it gets thrown out a lot nowadays. People call whatever game that doesn't lead you by the hand a sandbox already, whereas a real actual sandbox should be a game that also provides you with tools to create your own fun, not just an open world. There is a difference, I suppose, between an open world game and a sandbox, and Just Cause is a big playground for kids who like a lot of explosions.
Yeah, and I'm one of those kids.
Yes.
Right, well, I don't think I've got much more else to say about Just Cause 3. If you like to just cause a stupid amount of destruction and make silly things happen in a really hilarious manner, then I would get this game because it's definitely fun. What about you? Are you interested in picking this up?
I have seen you play it, but my problem is I can... it's a serious thing. I can't heal that. I've tried, but I can't. I play a video game. I play a Division beta the other day. Run around. I see rats scattered in a snowy New York. I wonder if you can actually shoot those rats. Yeah. Oh, turns out you can. For the next 10 minutes, I feel sorry. I actually shot the poor animals.
Man,
I feel I actually heart
you get too caught up in just the story and stuff like that. You feel like you're breaking character when you do these things. That's your problem.
Exactly.
Right?
But there's no such thing as too caught up, hey? Those games are all about escapism. I play a video game, someone wants to team up with me just so that we can, I don't know, chat whilst playing. No way. No, that takes me out of character. I need my immersion.
You really do this, don't you? You really do get into the character of the person you're playing.
Absolutely, man.
You're weird.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I was hoping this remark would come out.
Right, well, I think this pretty much sums up our feelings on Just Cause 3. And it's taken up a lot of my time recently, so I've not really got too many other games that I've been playing at the moment. But
I'm here to rescue the day anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. So I'd give this game a rating of 5 rocket boosted corpses out of 7.
Which is probably the right amount of rocket boosted corpses.
No. There's never a right amount of rocket boosted corpses. You can always have more.
I think with Just Cause, this is a game that does everything it's set out to do. It does it right. It doesn't limit you where you would otherwise maybe worry that you'd get limited, and there is a certain amount of, let's face it, electronic sadists that just feel unleashed when they play it, which I'm pretty sure was the goal of the developers.
And they've done well.
Yes,
they've done well.
But on the more serious notes, there's games that actually have.
Good segue.
What? No. We're going to talk about the Banner Saga because this is one of the games that you guys should have obviously talked about since day one, and you've chosen not to.
Well, we've not chosen not to, Pawel. Well, we've not chosen not to talk about it. We've chosen not to play it.
Yeah, see,
there's a difference.
I'm tolerating it. I can understand that you may have made such a choice, but it was an uneducated choice. Have you listened to what I have to say about the Banner Saga? You would have made a different choice.
Have you come onto my podcast just to insult me? Because that's my job.
Uncovered so quickly. Yes, and no, and mostly just yes again.
Right, let's hear it then. The Banner Saga.
I'm gonna say, I know that as a gamer, you don't fall for all those big back AAA pitfalls that everybody does.
Yes.
You don't
I
just
don't
play big titles.
Oh God, no.
And Just Cause is a fairly big title.
It's a fairly big title.
Whereas one of the more obviously entertaining features, apart from everything else, the choice of titles you guys go for, and which makes me stick around definitely, apart from other.
Oh,
things.
thanks, man.
Yeah, is that you always
It's
find...
not our shining personalities or anything. It's just
I've actually
you just want the
seen
content.
you, Chris. I've seen you before, so no, I can swallow that and still listen to the podcast. Yeah.
Right, let's start with the Banner Saga. So it's developed by Stoic,
Yes.
published by Versus Evil.
Yes.
It is available on Windows, OS X, Linux, iOS, Android, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the PlayStation Vita is to be announced, apparently.
But I'm going to say, as much as there's a lot of platforms, and you would think that the developer is doing well and is getting sponsored by all the evil millionaires in whatever Silicon Valley, it's actually just a bunch of people that pretty much came up with this captivating setting and aesthetics. This game, or let's say its renown in the sort of indie PC game world, is all just based on aesthetics, on art direction, on its quite authentic sounding soundtrack, and not so much for gameplay actually, just mostly those things, music and visuals. But it was so popular with gamers and with reviewers as well, I suppose, that they found ways to release the game on other platforms, and at the moment there's indeed a very long list.
Okay, right. So tell me, what is this game?
The Banner Saga is pretty much the best, absolutely brightest example of what a game should be. You know this,
Pawel, I've heard you say that about many, many, many games.
The thing is.
You're a very enthusiastic person.
No, if I invest my time and passion into something, it means it's awesome.
Right.
It's a fact.
I believe you.
I know. I have a personal I have a thing for isometric turn-based stuff. I just do. That might have something to do with my age, I suppose. I may have grown up on things like this.
Yeah.
And I do play, obviously, a lot of other stuff as well, but every now and so often I find myself really enchanted by isometric
I'm the same.
turn-based.
I quite like those kind of games as well. And I think that's probably come from my absolute love of Fallout when I was a teenager.
The original Fallout.
Yeah, the original Fallout.
As much as I can enjoy nowadays. You
can still play that game and love it.
Yeah. So the Banner Saga has got pretty much two modes. The game takes place in a fictional, obviously, fantasy world that is very, very heavily inspired by Viking, you could say mythology or Nordic mythology, but also just concepts, I suppose. Not taking directly from myths as such, but just from aesthetics, from atmosphere, from mood, from this sense of there is a feeling of an impending doom,
right?
And a lot of very sort of grounded authenticity to the world they've crafted, and they telling their story through obviously through this beautiful artwork, which sort of looks. There's not a lot of animations in the game, more like dialogues that you would expect from a classic turn-based and isometric games as well, released in Japan back in the day, like Shining Force and the like, where you would have your pop-ups with the character drawing and dialogues. There's plenty of that in Banner Saga, and in those dialogues, obviously you go through the story, you make choices which that have usually quite gruesome consequences. Whatever choices you make in a harsh world of the Banner Saga, you'll be losing people, you'll be losing crucial characters. There's going to be gruesome injuries, there's going to be deaths. One thing to mention, and I failed to do so still, is I'm just going to look through my notes here.
Oh yeah, Pawel has come, like, he's turned up for this podcast with sheets and sheets and sheets of paper, which is way more organised than we usually are. Man, I don't know if you fit in on this podcast with that kind of stuff.
No. I take this very seriously, Chris.
All right. We don't.
Roguelike.
It's got roguelike elements.
Well, I thought that would catch your interest.
Yes, that has caught my interest.
Roguelike. Define roguelike, Chris.
Roguelike, it's usually procedurally generated games that tend to usually they go on forever, pretty much.
So the Banner Saga doesn't have a lot of it. Sorry, I'm going to talk about roguelike in a moment. But in Banner Saga, the only aspect of it is permadeath, which is fairly
that is another thing
popular
games, yes.
with, especially with gamers interested in a story as such, and in at least a little bit of a challenge, and also if a game at least offers a consequence of your choices, permadeath should usually be amongst those consequences, and it's quite welcome by players.
It sounds quite tense.
The Banner Saga is tense. The world is ending. You are playing. You're pretty much in command of a caravan of travelers. The action of the game, or the point of view of whatever camera, will move from one point on the map to another. You'll be sort of leading different groups of characters. You'll be learning about them as you go. You'll be getting to like them or dislike them, but more often you'll just be seeing them dying, either heroically or because you've just made a choice you thought would be good.
Is this like a really Viking version of the Oregon Trail?
Sort of, yeah.
Because that's what it sounds like.
You've got a world that's inhabited by humans. You've heard of humans before, I'm sure.
I think so, yeah.
Some of them are similar to Scots. And then you also have these giant types of characters, horned giants called the Varl. The world actually has different other races as well, but they'll not be introduced until Banner Saga 2, which is getting released hopefully in a couple of months.
Okay.
Varl are only guys. There is no actual dudettes in that particular species, and they've been created by one of many gods in the pantheon of this game. All the gods are dead. Which pretty much sums up how people feel about their world. Your gods are dead. You know they're dead. There is a lot of god stones scattered around the map that you travel through. There is pilgrimages. There's desperate people praying to a deaf ear, and they even know it's a deaf ear. Nobody's going to respond, but they're still doing it because what else they can do? And Varl themselves, they know that they're last of their kind. No god will ever create any other Varl. They're amazing warriors, obviously. We're talking about huge giants, legendary warriors that protect the south from... Obviously, there's always some sort of fairly generic enemy, whether it's an orc or whether it's a darkspawn in Dragon Age or you name it. There is an enemy type like this in Banner Saga called the Scourge, just so that you know what they are really.
Okay.
Because the name says it all. But the Varl has always kept them in check, and now the Scourge are yet again amassing and going south and endangering everybody, so there's lots of battles and lots of blood. Right, enough with the side story. Just to finish up, the game is divided into two modes. There is a pretty much a traveling mode where you see in an aesthetic type that's slightly, I don't know. It's a 2D cartoon sort of thing,
right?
With your caravan just walking through rolling hills, amazing environments as such, and and facing all sorts of food shortage, ambushes along the road, and people asking you for help. Don't, honestly, because it's just gonna mean you have to feed more mouths.
Ah, yeah, that old chestnut.
Exactly. And the second mode, which is the meat of the game, really, is the battles themselves. It's as I said, it's this mode is turn-based, isometric, and fairly simple, but still, the developers were confident enough that it's found plenty of fans that they're actually gonna release a board game,
really?
An actual figurine battling thing. And the mechanic is very simple. You've got a character that's got an armor value and strength value. Nothing
and
else.
that's it.
There's going to be skills as well obviously add to the flavor and all sorts of tactical choices. But you've got armor, you've got strength. The amount your strength is both your hit points and also the amount of damage you do.
Right.
And whenever you make an attack, you can target somebody's armor or somebody's strength.
Right.
Obviously,
okay.
armor.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
You hit armor, you decrease it, which means that your hits then can take away more hit points from an enemy. You take hit points from an enemy, he hits lighter.
Right.
And this is the basics. And on this basis, pretty much all tactical choices are built.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
There's oddities to it, which the developers will, they said at least, will address in Banner Saga 2. The game's been really well received, but every game, I mean, it's an awesome game, as you know now.
Yeah.
But it does have slight faults. Not interesting, really. I'll mention them for the sake of review. The whole the mode that's all about caravan management as such. You've got your resources, whether they are a number of people in your caravan, a number of supplies, things like this, and the morale, which is important. You get to rest, you lose food because you're resting, obviously, and drinking mead or whatever as Vikings drink.
Mead.
Mead. We have that in Poland aplenty. The fans are looking for some clearer, better described, better shown, and more, let's say, styles and facets to this caravan management that will give you a better understanding of what you're doing and what are the consequences of your doing. But there is a particular oddity to the battles themselves that I found strange. In every turn-based strategy or tactical game, you'll usually have either some sort of character initiative value that will pretty much say who's taking their turn where in terms of character battlings themselves.
Okay.
Or you'll have sort of queue of portraits. Yeah, this portrait is first. After this portrait, another dude will attack, and then another one will be able to take their action. In Banner Saga, it's always your character and then enemy character, and then yours and then the enemy, which is fair enough when the battle starts. But as you play and keep, succeeding, most of your dudes are alive, and say there is 3 or 2 enemies left. They have a lot of movements. They keep acting.
Right. Okay, that's a bit weird.
And this is something that I found a bit peculiar. Gamers, people that play this game...
That sounds like a massive problem, though.
It's something that you have to prepare for and maybe hack game a little bit, which is something that I didn't particularly enjoy. Games where you play sort of... When you try to play, logically, make choices you would maybe take if you were indeed a horned giant on a battlefield. Yeah. But then you realize that this game is governed by a set of rules that demands a different approach. In this case, in Banner Saga, for whatever reason, I don't think this is something they overlooked. This is maybe something they chose to do, and You don't kill, say, the last 3 or 4 enemies. You just really want to weaken them.
Okay.
Because then they still can
Yes,
act.
aye.
Whereas when they hit for very tiny little bit.
Yeah.
I suppose this is, variety, and it can be interesting in terms of strategy. And when the enemy only have the last character left, then you get to pretty much just slaughter him from all sides. But if there is 2 enemies as such, and you've not even touched one of them, you have a very powerful enemy that can act pretty much every turn the enemy has.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, you've talked at great length there about the combat system. But how do you feel about the game, though, Pavel?
This is an awesome game, and I absolutely love it.
It's not like you to call something awesome.
I know.
Just so you know.
I've saved it for the Banner Saga.
Just so you know, dear listener, Pavel thinks everything is awesome.
Not everything, just everything I do.
Right.
And
I would disagree with that.
No. It's because you choose to you choose to get busy with something. You make it.
Whoa! Hang on, you're getting busy with everything.
Well, no. You spend time on stuff. You put your passion in it.
You're not getting busy with it, no.
Ah, crap! The pitfalls of English. I'm gonna pretend I misunderstood that.
Well, right. I'm. Anytime I think of you playing a video game now, I'm going to be horrified.
Oh, you should be. But Chris, anytime you're playing a video game, trust me, I'm thinking the same thing. Yeah. I'm thinking there is civilians walking around there. There is, innocent animals that are supposed to be just critters, and I'm thinking, nope, you're not doing your quest. You're not doing what the developers wanted you to do.
I had 4 goats attached to my car when I was playing Just Cause 3 the other day there, so...
No. Of course you would.
Of course I did. Right, so that was the Banner Saga. Pavel, give us a rating of some sort.
Yes, of some sort. Let's see. I'll give it a rating in missing Euans because
he's missing and you're missing.
Because he's missing, so missing Euans. And if you think about Euans, that's not a big currency, yeah, because it's a Chinese currency, yeah.
Yeah.
I think 1 Yuan is like 10p or something. The Yuan is pretty much worth
Pavel,
10 pence.
Is that your rating?
No, that's Yuan's rating. And the game is, I would say it's at least 95 out of 100 Yuans.
Okay, that's the biggest rating we've ever had.
I know, but this is because now I've made it here and I've joined the podcast.
You're trying to outdo us here. I mean, you're trying to take over.
No, I'm just raising the bar of ratings.
Okay, well, let's move on. But unfortunately, I think, we're going to let Pavel speak again. Now, very briefly, talk to us about Invisible Ink. As briefly as you can, which I know isn't very brief.
That is quite a challenge.
Yes.
Invisible Ink is... This is not going to happen, you know this.
Do you want me to introduce this?
Why not?
So
Let's see if you've done your homework.
By Cly Entertainment. I believe, did they do Don't Starve? I think they did.
I think so, yes.
Which is an excellent game.
I fully agree. It's one of those indie games that suddenly, without anyone expecting it, find this huge success, and everybody's playing it.
It's something that I actually wanted to talk about at some point in the podcast, but we'll do that another time. I've not played it for a while, but yeah. So this is by Cly Entertainment. It's available on Windows OS X, Linux, PS4, which the PS4 version isn't actually out yet. But I think. That's all the
I
information.
didn't even know they were going to
it came out Windows OS X Linux on May the 12th, 2015. Talk to me. What is Invisible Ink?
Invisible Ink is not something you use to write invisible letters. Invisible Ink stands for Invisible, I suppose, Incorporated.
Incorporated, yeah.
And
so it's INC, yeah.
There you go. It's isometric. It's turn-based.
Whoa! What a surprise!
Also, and that's another important part of this particular game. It's cyberpunk, and some of us do love everything cyberpunk themed.
Is this another roguelike game, Pavel?
And this is an actual proper roguelike.
Okay.
Where you have a number of agents who are, all of them, in one way or another cybernetically enhanced and are pretty much just employed by yourself. You're to infiltrate. One of those. Break into whatever highly secured corporate offices and storehouses and the like, and hack him badly. You are accompanied by an artificial intelligence, which you're using to pretty much take over all sorts of different security cameras, various corporate safes, and other devices that you find on your way. And what we have there is, maps that are procedurally
generated.
English is hard. Procedurally generated maps with quite a lot of enemy types that are either on patrol or just guarding corporate secrets.
So does this whole game take place in an isometric thing?
Oh yes. Pretty much, apart from what looks like a lobby where you're restocking and preparing for another mission.
Right, so there are different missions which are like different levels.
Before every mission, you're treated with a world map and a couple of targets that you can hit, and you pick what you'd like, because you can pick a corporate office that specializes in software, and you might want to steal some new programs for your artificial intelligence, or you might pick whatever corporate cybernetics lab, just so that you can steal some designs or actual augmentations for your agents. But once you've chosen an actual target, you get your isometric map. You get really
it's randomly generated.
Yes.
Right.
Now, not really permadeath as such in this game, although obviously you lose, and this is what in a roguelike, correct me if I'm wrong, happens. You lose your game, and you keep losing your game. You very rarely actually reach the finish, and quite a lot of roguelikes you will never actually reach the finish because it doesn't even exist. It does in this game, although there is an endless mode as well that you can just play forever.
Good old roguelikes in their endless mode.
Exactly. But if you lose, then you get your whatever total score, which helps you to unlock certain starting conditions, like more agents that you can choose from, more programs for your artificial intelligence.
So what do your agents actually do in this? Do they have specialities?
It's a stealth game. So you creep through those offices, peek through doors, try to predict the guards' movements and the like. Right. You don't really fight guards, or at least the game doesn't encourage you to do so, because it's one hit, one kill, really, for your agents. But you do find yourself using your tasers a lot in the game, and then dragging unconscious guards around to make sure that they won't wake up somewhere where you've left them, because as soon as you alarm them, they will just keep hunting you. Your agents will be better at hacking. Your agents will be better at disabling electronics, stuff like that.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So, is there a sort of level progression in this?
Yes,
your agents get better.
The firewalls on all sorts of devices that you go through, whether it's a camera you have to hack, because otherwise you can't even sneak through a room. The camera will see you, alarm level will raise, additional guards will come, all sorts of things can happen, and you have to be able to hack through stuff in this game. Hacking is really important. You're using different kinds of software, you're breaking various firewalls, potentially other complications called demons in this game, which is, again, not just a barrier level that you have to lower down to the point where it breaks, but also additional difficulties, and there's plenty. There is a lot of variety in this game, and it was rich to begin with, but again, it's a game that was quite successful. Plenty of people bought it, and they've very quickly released just a pack with additional enemy types, droid types patrolling those offices, additional software, additional demons, a couple of additional agents. So cool. It's one of those games where you keep playing and you still keep encountering enemies you've not even seen before and ways of dealing with them that you've not seen it before.
I do like that in a game.
I'm
this
very
is quite
impressed
interesting.
with
I'm actually quite interested in it from hearing you talk about it there. Might pick that up. How much roughly do you think you paid for that?
This game has been around for a while.
So it's probably.
But Chris has just grabbed his mouse.
I've just grabbed my mouse, but unfortunately
Also, whilst he's shopping for Invisible Incorporated, I'm just gonna give you a short sort of insight into Chris and Euan's headquarters. Chris's laptop is currently standing on top of 2 board gaming boxes.
Stop! It's £15.
There you go. That's
£15.
That's still plenty. Sorry, I actually thought it was less.
No, it's £15. So.
His mic is standing on top of 3 board gaming boxes.
Board games, they're multifunctional, alright?
Yes,
you
also,
can use them
in this flat, they're pretty much furniture because there's hardly anything else and there's so many board games around. It's like paradise.
I might have to get rid of the TV, actually. just to fit more games in.
And play video games by guessing what you're doing.
Yeah. That's what I do anyway.
Yeah, I suppose I've just attached this sheep to something.
Right, Invisible Ink then. Let's wrap that up there. You want to give that a rating as well?
I'll be very generous. I think Invisible Ink is probably 99 Euans out of 100.
Right, you're well obsessed with this Euan idea.
Well, yes, that's because I'm pretending to be him now. No,
God.
No, I'm not.
Please don't do that.
No, I don't have a big mushy beard and a Scottish accent either, apparently.
And a general dislike for people.
What?
Euan is like, oh yeah, he's a mad sociopath, that Euan.
Yeah, you don't want to meet Euan in a dark corner.
People think he's racist. He's not. He just hates everybody.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair.
Just a disclaimer: Euan's not actually racist. He's not a sociopath. He's a very nice chap. He's a great bunch of lads, Pawel. He's a great bunch of lads.
We're gonna edit it all out. We won't say a word about you.
No. I'm gonna edit this more in. I don't know how that's gonna work, but I'm gonna do it right.
Hope you're enjoying Brazil.
Right. Well, that's going to wrap up video games because Pawel talked at great length there about the Banner Saga.
I'm only starting.
So he's taken up my time for. I was going to talk about City Skylines, but
I'm not going to even apologise. That's what I'm here for.
Right. So we're going to wrap up video games there. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be talking about a couple of board games and also. Pawel, since he's here and since he does his RPG,
might as well just not talk about board games at all because we've not talked about RPGs yet, Chris. Why haven't we?
Why haven't we?
Yes,
because I'm in control. That's why. Don't come. Seriously, do not come onto my podcast and try and take over. All right?
I'll keep trying.
I can't wait for you to get back.
We miss you.
We'll be back very soon.
I'm using your mic, man.
I'm just going to fade Pawel out now.
That happens to me.
Okay, we're back. Pawel's finally shut up.
Hello, does this work? Hello.
Yeah, you're still here, man. You're still here. Right, we're going to talk about some board games now, Pawel.
Yay!
And one game that we played at the weekend there.
Not so long ago, yeah.
Mysterium.
Which is not its title, and you know it.
No, that's the English title.
Well,
the Polish title is Mysterious Household.
There you go. Oh. Or
what?
What other title does it have?
Okay, it's called Tajemnicze Domostwo.
Holy shit, that was actually quite amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
No, I'm serious. Very impressive.
Right, so that's my Polish lesson out of the way for today. Tomorrow I'll be moving on to types of cheeses, I believe.
Plenty of cheeses in Poland. Most of them made out of polar bear milk.
Oh, we had my girlfriend decided to make me a load of Polish food one night because she knows I've got a quarter pint of Polish blood in me. So she got some smoked cheese, which was delicious. I don't know what it was.
Be from the actual Polish mountains.
Ah, right. It was delicious.
It's quite good, yeah. It's considered a delicacy and sort of tourist food in Poland.
All right. So I was eating tourist food then.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So Mysterium. How would you describe this game?
Well, I kept hearing people comparing it to Cluedo.
Yes.
Which is brilliant, because I've never played that either, so thanks very much for that comparison.
Well, growing up in communist Poland, you wouldn't get a game like Cluedo.
I know, we were mostly just playing with sticks and knives.
You would get the workers' rights game.
That was pretty much a game, yeah.
So, Mysterium, it's a game that was designed by two Ukrainian blokes. I think that's their official title, blokes.
I believe so, yeah.
Who are called, let's see, Alexander Nevsky and Oleg Sidorenko. So that's some very Ukrainian names there for you.
They do sound Ukrainian to me.
It's
actually my grandfather was half Ukrainian.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I think so too.
So it's produced by a company called Libelud, which is a company I've never heard of before, and I think they're French. I don't know what the original version was.
Good job
oh
with
yeah,
this game.
the production values in it are pretty good. Now this game takes place in a
mysterious household.
In a mysterious household in Scotland in this edition, which was quite a weird choice. I think the Polish version wasn't based in Scotland, I think, because all the artwork's different and stuff. So,
and it's supposedly more depressing, yeah. Which would make sense, because Poland is such a depressing country.
No, it's not, man. Well, I've been to Poland, all right, and it's.
I've been to Poland as well. You don't want to discuss that with me.
I went to a lovely place called Torun, though, which has an excellent board game shop.
In all fairness, anything that's not Warsaw is quite okay in Poland when you're just looking for pretty things or nice, although very, very, very dirty forests. But,
what? Dirty forests?
Well, yes, because when you're a Pole, you obviously throw out all your garbage and all your junk, old cars and sofas and couches in your forest because you care for them so much. Sorry, I have a lot of...
I thought you meant just like these forests had just picked up some grime over the years and somebody needs to go and clean them.
Well, to be fair, that too.
Right. Okay, let's continue with Mysterium then. So
yeah, I'll do a separate podcast about how much I'm damaged after 30 years of living in Poland. My episodes will be 4 hours long.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I get the feeling that you really like your home country.
I have respect to people that dared to stay there when the borders opened. Also, I do feel very sorry for you now.
Well, you're quite happily settled in Scotland now, aren't you?
I'm comfy here.
Have you ever found a mysterious household in Scotland?
Yes, I've been to the countryside quite a lot, and Scotland is actually full of them.
Yes.
It's a really good setting for such a game, and given that the game doesn't really have a lot of flavor text as such, you have to imagine things yourself.
It has pretty much none other than what's in the rulebook.
You deduce things out of the cards you see, so all you know about your characters is what you see on the drawings, on the art. But still, in my opinion, it does present its actual mood, its atmosphere quite nicely.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So what happens in this game is that it takes 2 to 7 players, which is a strange number, but the reason for that being is that you can have 6 people who play as investigators and 1 person who plays as the ghost. So what's happened here in this mysterious household is that somebody has died. Obviously the person playing the ghost has died. You can kill them if you like in real life, just to make it give it a bit more flavour, but I wouldn't recommend it.
They might be less responsive as a ghost player.
But what's happening is the players are playing as psychic investigators, and the ghost is trying to relay information to them using very, very trippy artwork, is the only way I can describe it.
Which is probably a good moment to really pay our respects to the people that provided art for this game. Well done.
Yes.
Not sure what you're smoking, but just keep it on. That is some serious stuff. I've not seen things like this before.
I think there's something like 170 of these cards as well, which is a lot of cards with a lot of weird artwork on.
I'm going to say there were some cards that were, let's say, just abstractly, aesthetically weird or creepy, but even those were already like some proper weed was smoked in order to come up with it. But there were some cards that, correct me if I'm wrong, would require some sort of acid at least.
Yeah, I think so. Some LSD would probably have helped.
Well done. We don't encourage that in any way.
So the mechanics of the game then. So
yeah.
Basically, like it's a bit like you say, it's a bit like Cluedo, because basically there's a bunch of people, a bunch of locations, and a bunch of weapons. All right, now these change in every game, so there's actually quite a few. There's like maybe 24 of each or something like that, and you only be using a few of them in each game. So it also depends on the difficulty setting. So you can change how hard you want the game to be, and that changes how many cards come out. But basically, you lay some of these cards out. So let's say 6. So we played, what was it, a 4-player game? 3 investigators, 1 ghost.
Indeed.
And I was the ghost. So we played it on easy and medium. And on the medium, I think there was, 6 of each type of card out?
I believe so, yes, actually, yeah.
And what happens is that the ghost he takes the same cards, and then he randomly chooses 1 for each player. So 1 person for each player, 1 location for each player, 1 murder weapon for each player. And the ghost is trying to tell the investigators which person they should be going for without speaking and only using these vision cards.
And that's a clear enough rule, but even there, it sort of feels like a player could easily hack the game. And is, I don't know, I found myself trying not to overguess, just trying to focus on the vision cards as such, rather than trying to sort of guess how are you actually playing those cards and why, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Because I could easily see you, for example, struggle with the cards.
Yeah.
Even because you're keeping someone for last. You said that you would give easiest jobs to the last person.
I tried to.
And in my sort of understanding would be, okay, well, in this case, whatever vision card you will provide will have something really obvious on it.
But sometimes it wasn't like that, though.
Well, exactly. It kept surprising us.
Yes, I had to, because the ghost player, like I say, there's like 170 cards or vision cards, but he only has 7 in his hand at any time. So he has to just like work with the 7 they've got. There are some rules depending on the difficulty that the ghost player can dump his entire hand and take 7 new cards if he doesn't feel that the ones that he's got are any help whatsoever.
And that was quite merciful on the easy.
So you could do it once a round on easy, but in medium you could only do it 3 times a game. And
which
hard,
Chris
you can
has
only do it once.
Used up quite fast. Actually,
no, that's a lie. That's a lie.
I do lie. I have it in my blood. But no, I still feel that you've used it up too fast, because you should have kept 1 for the final round, man. It's fine. It's just critique. You take it.
No. But it's just the vision cards. They're kind of like when you've only got 7 of them, and you're trying to portray to somebody that this chef, for example, was the person they should be going for, and you have no cards in your hand that have any picture of any cooking utensils or anything to do with chefing or anything that's on that chef's card, you start having to think outside the box. You start having to say, right. So what I did was, with the one that I think Dave kind of struggled on when I tried to give him these, was that I tried to give him 2 pictures of people wearing, one of them was a statue, to be granted, but they had big hats on, like the chef did. And then the next card I gave him had a picture of buttons on it, and the chef had buttons on his top.
I remember we were focusing on people's clothes and utensils more than anything else.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, and moustache as well.
And moustaches as well, yeah. But I was trying to sort of get across that point that here, this is what you should be looking for. This is the 2 things that these cards have in common. So.
But the thing is if you're looking for a murder suspect and you're given a vision card that actually has a human being on it, you're lucky at least.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get a card that's some sort of trippy vision of a fish swallowing some sort of monocycle, and there's going to be keys all around it and maybe a splash of colour, then good luck.
Yeah, that was a good example of the type of vision cards that you had. And some of them were just bizarre.
Which is, I think, one of the bigger flavours of the game, because not only you're trying to guess what the other person is thinking, and is trying to communicate to you, but you really, at some point, not only you're having this ridiculous type of just kind of fun, coming up with things that possibly you could do, because we soon realised that you're just struggling as hell. This is, by the way, the whole asymmetry in this game means that the ghost player really has to work hard, whereas we're just delivered entertainment. We're getting our visions, and we know that you've done half the, if not more than half the job already. We just have to follow in your way of thinking.
Yeah, that's it. But that's
just find your clues.
That's the thing about this game, is that you really have to try and get inside. Like, as the ghost player, I'm trying to say, right, if I know these three people well enough, then they should be able to interpret what I'm trying to say here. But you, as the players, are thinking the same way about me, sort of thing. You're trying to get inside my head. How does he think? Like, how does he think about this? Is he really literal, or is he like...
It must be so much easier for... I've only played as an investigator, a psychic, but you pretty much just paved the way for us. We just had to follow it.
But and that is the ghost player's job.
Whereas
the ghost
player, see you squirm with some of those cards.
I was really struggling. But sometimes you really do have to sit and study these cards for a while and think, oh, wait a minute, this does have some sort of thing in this that could point them in the right direction. But how do I emphasise that is more the thing? Like, because you can give like the investigators more than one card a turn. You can give them multiple cards if you want. And sometimes I was doing that when I knew they'd figured out what I was trying to say, and I just did that to get rid of some of the cards in my hand. Basically, give them a whole load of crap. But you can try and sort of like emphasise a point by giving 2 cards or 3 cards that all have something kind of similar in them, to try and say, okay, ignore all the other stuff that's happening in these visions, concentrate on that top hat.
And I'm going to say the strategic, maybe, or just maybe tactic facet of this game was that the ghost was actually a listener, and in every round we were, between the psychic players, we were discussing all those vision cards. So pretty much, Ghost actually knew what sort of route our thinking was taking. And if we actually not guessed correctly, the ghost would then provide a card that would make us turn in a different direction.
Yeah.
A couple of times I had a card that I was quite sure I was reading correctly.
Yeah.
My guess would prove incorrect, and then the next round I would get a different card, which if you added the symbols and themes from this card to your previous card, which would steer you in a different direction, you suddenly realize, oh no, you were meant to go that way.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
It is pretty
this
cool.
This is the strength of the game.
Yeah. There's not much else to say about Mysterium other than that, because it's a really weird game. It's like no other board game I've played. Essentially it's more like a card game.
Yes.
Well, a lot of sort of art, like interpretation involved in it. It's a really bizarre thing.
But it's also one of those things that actually you're not just thinking about your dice rolls and about whatever tactical situation on the board. You're actually, with every card, with every challenge on every stage of this game, you're just having fun. Your imagination is going bonkers.
Yeah, totally.
So that's a really cool thing. The part that I found like something that we had to start paying attention to is a little hack to the game. There were certain rules that would make us... We knew that we were pretty sure that we knew some bits of the puzzle.
Yeah.
We would still...
deliberately get it wrong.
Yes, deliberately guess wrong so that other players could maybe score a few more points guessing their parts of the puzzle.
Yeah, we should probably explain that bit, because every investigator gets a bunch of intuition tokens. And basically, if you think that this person has interpreted their cards correctly or incorrectly, you can put one of your intuition tokens down to signify that. And you move up on a track if you get that right. Now, the higher up on that track you are, the more cards you get to see in the end game. So the end game is basically the ghost picks one of the 3, however many players there are, basically. We played with 3 investigators, so we had 3 combos of cards, basically. The ghost picks
so
one
with
of
more
those
players,
things.
of course, there would be more cards.
Combos,
that
yes.
would have been actually more complicated.
Yes, and so there were 3 combos of cards. The ghost picks one of them and has to try and tell the entire group that this is the correct combination, using only the vision cards they have in their hand. Now, the higher up you are on that point track, the more cards you get to see. So some investigators might only get to see 1 card, some investigators might only get to see 2, and some investigators, if they got high enough, get to see all 3. And it's pretty, that's a pretty tense endgame thing. We played the easy version and we won that quite easily, didn't we? The
easy version, we didn't struggle much, we guessed 100%
yes.
correctly. Yeah. And
then on the medium version,
we didn't struggle.
You guess
as
0%
much.
correctly.
Well, that's true. But we still were pretty confident as we were approaching the end game.
Oh yeah, you were.
We had the same amount of points. Obviously, the end stage was much more difficult.
I think the problem was that in that medium game, none of you got to see all 3 cards.
That is correct.
You all only got to see 2. And that was a bit of an issue because there was one of the cards that I was going to put out, which would have given the whole thing away, I think.
Yeah,
and when I shuffled up the 3 cards and dealt them out, that card did not come out.
Well, that's right, yeah. But it's not. I mean, even if we often were guessing in a similar way, most of it was because we were discussing things as we went through the game, or endorsing each other's choices, or maybe trying to discourage someone from what we thought would be a mistake. Whereas in the final stage, the psychics are actually not supposed to discuss their interpretations of the cards. And this was probably where actual psychology would come out. I'm pretty sure that whatever actual real life psychiatrists or psychologists or other therapists could use this game to to tell a story or two about the players.
I think
how you interpret some things. How do you what sort of connections you find between some of those visions and those drawings.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you could hold up some of those vision cards and say, what do you see here? How would you link it to this? And that would tell you a lot about that person, especially if they just said guns.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Or how you associate some symbols that, somebody would maybe think are, related to whatever medication and goodwill and somebody else would actually associate with poison and some sort of inferior motives.
Yeah.
Same symbol, 2 different ways of thinking about it, because we had potential culprits being either doctors or chefs or magicians and stuff like that, which also tells a little bit, because we kept changing our own sort of backstories that we kept conjuring up for those people. Because let's face it, any chef can at any time become a butcher with this huge cleaver just running around and trying to murder people, and doctors obviously just poison everybody. So that was good fun.
Well, one of the other things, just the last thing about this game, there is no language dependency in this game whatsoever, other than the rulebook. There is nothing on the cards. There is no text. So you could potentially...
I've actually not thought about it.
That's you could potentially play this game with a bunch of people that don't speak the same language, as long as they all knew the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's quite cool. You don't see many games these days that have no language dependency.
That's a really neat point. I've not thought about it, because even if you can't really communicate with your fellow players and you know the rules, you could easily just point cards and keep playing.
You make your point from there.
Awesome.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So Mysterium, really weird game, but it's excellent for what it's doing. It's like Cluedo on steroids, or sorry, Cluedo on LSD. I should probably say.
And it's one of those games, I think, that has a strange sort of replayability, because you would think that at some point you'll learn those cards and you'll keep seeing them and you'll keep associating them with the same thing. Nope. Because
no.
On a few occasions I got the same vision card and it was actually used in a different context,
manner,
and it meant something else. And again, I'm really impressed by the design team.
Yeah, it's very good. Whoever did the art on that, and at the moment I don't have that information, but whoever did the art on that did a really good job.
And should probably now be on therapy themselves.
Or in a rehab clinic.
Yeah.
Well, that's Mysterium. Do you want to give this a rating, Pawel? I've been liking your rating so far.
Yes. Well, we're going to go with Euan's now, because Euan, is missing just like a ghost in Brazil.
Right, so we'll call it Ghost Euan's.
Yeah, Ghost Euan's as such, I'm easily going to give it like 6 out of 7, because why
6
not?
out of 7 Ghost Euan's. That's a pretty good rating.
I think this is a game that's living up to most of its potential, and if there's any weaknesses in it, then I can't really see it as such.
Yeah.
Because any ghost will be a brand new challenge. You put somebody else in charge of this game, and suddenly all the psychics have to relearn everything. And you know what? At some point, you start getting into another person's head, which is something you don't really do in normal board games.
Were you trying to get in my head when we were playing this?
Did you not hear my mental whispers?
Oh, God.
Yes.
I thought that was just my Polish blood. Right. So, right, let's move on then. So, aye, Mysterium, it's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's not for everybody, though, but it's a good one.
Well, actually, you've just said it for everybody, because you don't even have to know the language.
No, that's not what I said, but Mysterium's a great bunch of lads, is what I'm trying to say.
Or dudettes.
Right. Right, let's move on to something. I'm going to talk about
Warhammer Quest.
Yes, not the Warhammer Quest, but Warhammer Quest adventure card game. Now, as we've said many times in this show, we're not big Games Workshop fans, but yet again, Fantasy Flight, they've got the rights to do all the sort of board game side of things for Games Workshop using their universe. And Warhammer Quest is a game that I really enjoyed when I was younger. I remember picking it up, and I think it came out in 1995, and I got it then. So when I heard that there was a card game version of it coming out, I was like, yeah, I'm going to grab that. And I did.
Now, the sad part is, surely you've also heard of a Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game, Chris.
Yes, I have.
The core experience for all
We're
Warhammer
not talking
fans.
about role-playing games yet.
Oh,
I'll fade you out again, man.
I'll behave.
Right. So Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game, comes in a sort of smallish box. It's hang on, 2 secs. It's designed by Adam and Brady Sadler, who are two designers that I've never heard of before. But this is one of the hardest games I've ever played. Now, it's a co-op game, just like the original Warhammer Quest is, in which each player takes on the role of one of the heroes. Now, there are 4 heroes in this. There are the Dwarven Ironbreaker, there's the Bright Wizard.
Hell yeah.
There's
always the Bright Wizard.
Always a Bright Wizard.
It's like no other colleges are ever represented in Warhammer games. It's always the bright one, because let's face it, you do wizardry, you want to cast fireballs.
That's it. Well, there's also the Elven Way Watcher and the Warrior Priest,
which is pretty much just the icon of Warhammer as such.
Now,
so when you say it's a hard game, you don't mean the rules, yeah? You mean
no,
the actual...
the rules are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Now, because for a Fantasy Flight game, this is a pretty straightforward game. Now, the tutorial quest in it is a piece of piss. Okay? It is so easy that it's stupid that I thought...
This was a Scottish expression for something being easy.
Yes. Now, I just thought, like, when I played this tutorial thing, I was like, that was a bit too easy. And then we started playing the campaign. Oh my fucking god. That is difficult. Now, we beat the first 2 quests quite easily, but the 3rd and 4th and 5th one we just lost.
How long does a quest take?
Well, that depends on who you're playing with, I suppose, but I think each quest took us about an hour.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe a couple of them maybe took slightly longer, maybe a couple of them took slightly
similar
less.
to
An average about an hour.
The Star Wars thing that you talked about in the last podcast.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
So, basically what happens is, like I say, it's a card game. So you get your character, and then you get 4 actions associated with the character. Now, they're always attack, aid, rest, and explore. Those are the 4 things. Now, they might be slightly different for each of the different classes. In fact, they are. And you basically use it in a sort of... Every time you use an action, you turn the card sideways, you tap it, you exhaust it, whatever nerd term you want to use for that. I think this game uses exhaust, because I think Magic the Gathering probably has the monopoly on the word tap.
Yeah, they might.
Now, what happens in this is that you build up, if you're playing a campaign mode, it tells you what monsters to put into the deck, and it tells you to put certain levels, because you get different levels of like cards, so you get level 1, 2 and 3, and you might use different levels of locations and stuff. So you go to a location, it tells you how many monsters to spawn, and you just stick them in front of you. Now, some of these monsters are just ridiculous, and they're relentless. They just keep coming. They just never stop. Like,
oh.
Now,
okay, well that sounds thematically correct.
Yeah, the game just the game uses dice. So like, if you attack something, right, you roll some dice, and it tells you how many dice. And generally, most things that you do. So in fact, it doesn't matter which action you use. You roll some dice for it, and the dice have different symbols on them, successes and that kind of thing.
Chris, you must be aware that you've just described the pretty much the worst nightmare of any, last dwarf in the lost fortress of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah.
The orcs just keep coming.
They never stop.
This
and it's
is
not
how
just
it's
orcs.
supposed to
Some
be.
of the monsters in this game are ridiculous.
This is not a high fantasy where you're supposed to actually win and conquer.
Yeah.
This is grim reality of Warhammer. Chaos is gonna win. That's pretty much the fate of this world.
That's it. Now, this game, what makes it so hard is the fact that you have to exhaust these actions as you use them. Alright, and the monsters keep coming. Now, if you use your attack thing when you've got a monster engaged with you, and you don't kill that monster, you're in trouble. Like,
I can imagine that.
right, now, it's like, so you might roll 2 dice, and if you fail, but like for every monster that's engaged with you, you roll some enemy dice as well, so you might get hurt. And, you can only have a maximum of 3 monsters engaged with you as well, so if you ever have to get engaged with another monster, that monster just hits you for however much it hits you for. Like, and then you just take damage for that. So if you let the monsters overwhelm you, which happens, you just get absolutely hammered. And you're trying to, the whole thing is it's a co-op game, you're trying to work together, so some cards will be like the Dwarven Ironbreaker guy, he can engage several enemies, he can take enemies off the other people, he's like the tank, basically.
Yeah.
And the Warrior Priest does that kind of thing as well. I think everybody can engage enemies using certain cards, but it's just like, you sit there and try and figure out and come up with some tactic, and it can burn your brain when you're sitting there saying, right, okay, I'm engaged with 3 monsters, she's engaged with 2, she's engaged with 1.
That's pretty cool.
There's 3 monsters in the shadows, because they've got this certain part of the table called the shadows, where monsters come out and they're face down, but they are going to come out on the monster turn and start hitting people and stuff like that. You don't know
pressure,
what they are. And then you're sitting there and you're trying to think, what are we going to do here? We're just overwhelmed by stuff. We've got to do this quest. We'll have to explore this location and move on before time runs out. And it just becomes a complete, I think the technical term is clusterfuck.
Clusterfuck, yes, I've heard of it before. You know what? A clusterfuck experience is actually quite precious in board gaming.
Yeah.
Because recently, obviously, gamers and developers discovered that video games might actually be too easy, and they've been, turning the Valve up in some games. Obviously, things like Demon's Souls or Dark Souls are legendary for that. Yeah, but in general, people actually realize that that they've been dumbing down difficulty levels in video games.
Of course they have.
The what?
Of course they have.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
The reason to do that is so that they can sell them.
True, but sometimes it's just a cinematic experience, and you're just along for the ride, which doesn't make much sense. And in board games, if you if you know the rules, you have time. Nothing rushes you.
Yeah.
There is no whatever coordination, hand-to-eye coordination factor involved, nothing like this. It's just your intellect. Obviously, you're having fun with your friends, so sometimes you actually have to discuss things. But in the end, if you could keep winning if games were done this way. Instead, especially in co-op games, there's this tendency nowadays, which I actually find interesting, to really make them hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Properly hard. You sweat, you get this burning brain sensation, and you masochist.
Masochist.
Yes, you just enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I'm sitting there it sounds like I'm really complaining about this, but the thing is, I've actually really enjoyed playing it. It was a good experience.
The feeling of impending doom is pretty much what Warhammer should be. And you know what? Try and relive it when you play a card and die board game, yeah. And suddenly you realize that you are doing it.
Yeah.
If a game can provide this sort of experience for you, then it's a success.
Yeah, I have enjoyed it. I have to say. And if you play the campaign mode, you get upgrades and stuff in between quests.
So
you can upgrade your skills. So there's an advanced version of each skill. So in between each quest, you can upgrade one of those, or you can get some gear, or some of the gear is quite powerful.
Of course, because there has to be a sort of +3 to awesomeness.
Yeah.
So, how many quests are we talking about in
this space game? So it's set up for expansions.
Yeah.
Now in this space game, there's one campaign which consists of 5 quests.
Okay.
There's a tutorial mission, obviously, but there's also something called a delve quest, which I haven't we haven't tried yet. Now, the Delve Quest isn't part of the campaign. It's a sort of something you play alone, but it's like an ultra-long quest.
When you say alone, you mean still 4 characters?
Yeah, up to 4 characters, but the actual... So if you play like a campaign, you get one quest which has like maybe you have to go to 3 locations and like get through those 3 locations and do something at the end of it and stay alive, basically. Now, the Delve Quest is like ultra long, so there'll be several locations. It's like going through levels of a dungeon sort of thing with lots of different monsters and stuff, not just one deck set up with one thing, like with specific monsters that like have all the level 1 monsters in the first level of the dungeon and stuff like that. It looks pretty interesting. In between levels, you get certain upgrades that the game tells you can take. But so it's more. That's actually much more like the actual Warhammer Quest board game.
Yeah,
because you're playing
it's
one
a full co-op
thing.
You're playing against the game center.
You play against the game, which has got actually the sort of AI, if you want to call it that, in the game is really good. The different monster cards they have different things written on them, and you do them in that order. There might be something like advance. So each player on the monster turn, whoever's the first player goes first, and they pick one monster to activate. They have to pick somebody that's engaged with their hero. If there's nobody engaged with their hero, they pick something out of the shadows. And basically, like, those monster cards will have stuff like inflict written on it. And inflict just means it does its damage to you. You get no defense against it. Or it might say advance, so it would come and engage you. Or it might say retreat, so like you get archers and stuff that would retreat first and then inflict twice. So it's pretty thematic that way. So like if you've engaged an archer, when it's their turn, they'll run away from you, and then they'll shoot you, and they'll shoot you fast. So like that's like the Night Goblin archers, I think, is what sort of do that, obviously. But you get other things like you get spiders in it who will try and web you. Which will make you exhaust an action, which is pretty crippling in this kind of game.
That sounds like plenty of variety.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety. Like, there's not really a lot of monsters in the base game, but there's a lot of variety between them, and there's elite versions of them as well, which are an absolute nightmare, some of them. And there's boss monsters as well that you use in the campaign mode, and some of those are quite interesting too. Like you get the abomination, the Skaven abomination thing and stuff
lovely.
Like that.
Those are real handsome.
Yeah, it's a really difficult game, right? I'm not going to lie to you. This game is hard. It's like you say, it's going to make you sweat, but it's good. It's fun. I enjoyed the experience of playing it. And we played through the whole campaign in one night. It took us about 5 hours, but it was good. I did enjoy it.
Are there any eject mechanics, as in you're about to fail, but you still want to, in some way, salvage the situation and maybe replay a quest in order to get that experience point at the end or something?
The campaign modes, you either win or you fail a quest. But regardless of what happens, you move on to the next quest. But there are different outcomes. So if you've...
and that's, again, Star Wars
Imperial Assault, yes. Yeah, pretty much. Although in Imperial Assault, that can change what quest you play next. And what this Warhammer Quest game... you
still play the same quest.
You play the same quest, but
different conditions.
You'll get, like, if you win, you get some sort of reward for it. So, and one of the things is legendary gear that you can put into the gear decks, which you can draw, and then you get something amazing for it. But, like, the failures generally put the boss monsters... If you didn't kill them, they'll go into the monster deck for the next quest, which is pretty thematic. It's pretty cool that way.
Indeed.
Because you haven't killed the boss, so you'll come back.
Nice.
But it's different things. So, like, failing is pretty bad. Winning is generally pretty good because you get legendary gear and stuff like that. So, like, you really do want to win all these quests.
In a campaign, it's actually nice to see consequences.
Yeah, regardless of the outcome, you move on to the next quest.
Okay, cool.
And then when you get to quest 5 of this campaign in the base game, if you win it, you win the campaign. If you lose it, you lose the campaign. But how you did before that will determine how hard that quest is going to be.
Because you might as well have 4 additional bosses in your monster.
Exactly.
Marvellous. And you're saying lots of expansions?
There are none out yet. This game's actually come out pretty recently. This is only the past couple of months or something this game's turned up.
I'm not going to lie to you, it does sound very appealing.
I thought you might like it. Okay. That Warhammer Quest game, I'll give it 4 fucking difficult turns out of 5. So, there you go.
Well, so long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters. There's
Right.
plenty of punishment in co-op games nowadays, and that's what they're supposed to be for. I'm gonna at some point hopefully introduce you to Shadowrun Crossfire, and good luck winning that ever.
Oh yeah, I do want to play that. That looks pretty good.
I'll bring it over, but that game is pretty much designed, I think, so that you can attempt the first scenario 3 or 4 times before you even try to win it.
Right.
Because your
one of
characters
those games.
can attempt to do something, pretty much decide to run away, and maybe salvage the situation and get a few experience points and start grinding until you get your first skill that actually makes you better and attempt to do it yet again. It's really hard.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It is, actually.
Right, okay, well, I think we're probably going to have to leave that there now, Pawel. We did say that you were going to talk about an RPG, but I'm very wary of the time right now. And knowing what you're like, you will probably rattle on about this RPG for the next 40, 50 hours.
Well, I'm going to admit that was the plan. Yes. But for the sake of argument, I do hate you, and I also think that we should have probably started with RPGs and talked about RPGs through the entire episode.
This was my plan all along.
No, it's fine. I forgive you because I shall attempt to visit you before Euan actually comes back. And
yes,
maybe...
I think, considering Euan's not going to be back for another 2 weeks or so, I don't think he'll be doing much gaming while he's off in South America gallivanting about. So we'll probably get you back for the next episode.
I'm sure there's board games in South America.
I think there are, but I don't know if Euan will be playing them. I think that's the thing. I think if you go on holiday, you generally don't go on holiday to play board games.
Is that something you do?
Well, I've gone on holiday and played video games before.
There you go.
Board games, that's a different matter.
Okay.
Especially in these hot countries, they make the bits warp.
Yeah, I can imagine all those sweaty tokens.
Yeah. Well, they're only sweaty after you've handled them. But anyway.
It's all the emotions, man.
So we'll get you back for the next episode, and I promise you can talk about the Genesis, your RPG of choice.
Hold you to your words.
Okay. We're not doing it first, though. We'll do it last.
Yeah, let's discuss it off the air.
Right, cool.
I would like to thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, well, you'll get another opportunity. You'll get another crack at the whip.
Marvelous.
And then we'll decide... I'll decide whether I want to keep you or Euan. At the moment, I'm leaning towards Euan quite heavily.
I'm a better Euan and you know it.
New Euan. Right. In other news, I'm considering streaming some games at some point. However, my internet connection here is stupid, and I'm going to have to get in touch with the ISP about that because the upload speed is just horrendously low for some reason. So if I get that sorted out, then look out for some streaming. So I'll be on Twitch. My username there is Unnecessary Chris, obviously. So yeah, look out for that. I'm
not going to make any comments about that nickname. I feel a couple just sort of surfacing, but I'll keep them to myself for now.
Right. Thanks, Pawel. Now, you can find us on Facebook at the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token Podcast. We are on Twitter, and we are using it, or I am using it even. Pawel has no moderator access to either of those things.
Which doesn't
so you know.
change a thing, because I'm on Facebook more than they are. It's called stalking, Chris.
We are on SoundCloud, so you can find us there. I think that's just the Large and Unnecessary if you're looking for us. I think... Oh, no. If you want to email us with comments or questions or anything like that, then we are firstplayertoken@gmail.com. So... I think that's everything. Is that everything, Pawel?
I'm sure there is a couple of other ways to contact you.
Yeah. You could come and speak to me in real life, but I'm not really a fan of that kind of thing. So yeah, thanks for listening. We will return with episode 13 in a couple of weeks' time, and Pawel will still be here. Lucky 13.
Awesome!
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me as well, and potentially even from Euan.
Bye.
Bye!